So, as always, at Setsi, we begin all things by giving thanks to our creator, our sustainer. We give thanks to all the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our ancestors whose bones lie at the bottom of the transatlantic, who said freedom or death. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, as we share, as we learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. My name is Victor Beausoleil. I'm a husband and father of four remarkable children. My wife and I have been blessed abundantly after 21 years of marriage to see our children thrive. We're here to have an incredible conversation around Black youth housing equity on behalf of probably the most remarkable organization in the housing space that I've ever seen in my work in Canada, the Rest Centers. And I really want to make sure that we all have a full understanding of why we're here. So we're going to do something simple, just I am statements, who we are, the organization we represent, and what brought us this conversation. We will start with our incredible colleague, Clemens. Go ahead, my brother.
Thank you, Brother Victor. My name is Clement Asena, and I am the Executive Director here at BIPOC Foundation, reaching you from Lethbridge, Alberta. I am very excited to be having this conversation. Uh, Youth housing is a crucial conversation, and excited to be here among these very brilliant colleagues of mine and ready to share together.
Thank you
And
so
I'll
much, brother.
pass it on to Sister Phil Senfar.
Thank you, Brother Clemens. I'm grateful for this gathering, this space, and really excited for this conversation. Definitely a pressing issue in all of our communities across the country, but definitely an area that we're seeing in supporting youth from our communities. And I guess I should have started by my name and organization, Phil Farah, located in London, Ontario. And I work with Weave Community Capital Fund, supporting community bond issuers across Canada. I will pass it to Brother Curtis Carmichael.
Hey, thank you. Pleasure to be here. Nice to meet everyone here. I'm from Scarborough. Everyone calls me CC. I'm the co-founder of an organization called Cataraqui Innovation Center. We are a workforce development and entrepreneurship training hub that provides wraparound services and community workspaces for underserved entrepreneurs and professionals. So spaces like childcare would be provided and also studios on site. We are a new project. We have identified a location. We have some funders identified, and we're in talk with some organizations to be a guarantor in order for us to finalize the capital for our project. You're probably wondering why I'm here. The reason why I'm here is our project is going to lead into us doing our long-term goal of building our own social finance fund, because our entity is self-sustaining as a social enterprise. So our long-term goal is to have our own fund when needs come up, when we need housing, when we need food, when we need money for businesses. We want to be able to provide that opportunity for the community. So that's a bit about me. My background is I'm a tech entrepreneur, and downtown Toronto, 90% of the innovation hubs in the city are downtown. So fourth of our city, all the Black people in Scarborough are underserved. So that's a bit about me and how I got connected. But pleasure to meet everyone here.
Thank you. We'll pass it on to Sister Tashi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tashi Harrow. I am the COO and founder of 30 Elephants Incorporated, and we are a youth-led and serving organization which takes youth from North America and takes them to different places around the world for cultural immersion and leadership development. We've been doing this going on 18 years now, and it is time for us to grow, to blossom, and to bloom. Meeting the needs of the youth and listening to their feedback, we are here to grow. So I am learning and growing and grateful to be here. I'm grateful for this space and to be able to grow, for the opportunity to grow.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Okay.
We can pass it on to our sister Sheena Blake. It's good to see you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheena Blake Brown. I am from Amadeus. I am the director of Prosper, so we work directly with young people that have firearm-related charges through something we call intensive case management. The on paper goal is to reduce recidivism for Black youth, but the real life goal is to make sure that the brothers that we support feel loved and seen and cared for. And so I am deeply grateful to be here meeting with other folks who understand what that means to care for our people in ways that are beyond what is written on paper.
All righty. Hello, everyone. I'm a grandma, and I'm a Black woman with disabilities. I am so grateful to be in these spaces with all of you. And my second career, I guess, after being Assistant Dean of Students International Community at U of T and teaching, I started an organization called ASHE Community Foundation for Black Canadians with Disabilities. And this is specifically because we do not see ourselves in anything of the disability community, actually experience a lot of racism. And then within the Black community, it's a hush hush, don't talk, or something's wrong with you, but because you're lazy or whatever. And we just don't get support there either. So this is the first and the only Black and disability-led organization in Canada.
Thank you so much, Liz, for your remarkable leadership and all that you do for so many. Brother Michael, please introduce yourself and the work that you're doing.
Hello, thank you very much. I apologize, I'm late. My name is Michael Ishiyama. I'm the founder and CEO of Support and Growth. We're a mental health and wellness company here in Ontario.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate all that you're doing. Sister Effia, go ahead.
Let me say that I'm a little bit jealous that I'm not in Ghana right now and that I don't have I just got back from Ghana story, but that's neither here nor there. I'll soon be there. My name is Afia Tachianen, and I'm a student and family advocate, as well as education systems navigator with the Parents of Black Children. And what we do is to help support parents who have Black children navigating education systems or anywhere in which they need advocacy. It's an organization that is national, but we are based in Ontario. And yeah, unfortunately, we're quite busy. So it's great to see everybody here, and I'm looking forward to the conversations today. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, sis. We appreciate you. Brother Derek Litz, go ahead, Derek. I know you're on vacation with your family right now, and I just really appreciate your level of commitment to community development to even take the time out. So, Brother Derek, are you there?
Yes, here I am. Thank you. Hi, sorry everyone. I'm Derek Lett. Good to see Sheena. I haven't seen her in ages, and kind of family connections. So great to see you. Derek Lett, chair of the Canadian Black Policy Network. As Victor indicated, I'm currently on the road. I'm actually in New Brunswick right now, outside of Ontario, where we're home based. Hope to be back there by the weekend. And we're occupying the public policy space, putting a Black perspective on the issues facing our community, and using that to advocate for change with all levels of government. So that's it. Maybe I'll pass it over to my friend and colleague, Cooper.
Hi, Derek. It's good to see and hear that
Yeah,
you're having some fun.
thank you.
But yes, thanks for inviting me here, Brother Victor, to always be a part of these conversations to talk about youth issues, because when youth have issues, we all have issues. I'm really happy that we're having those conversations. I work with CANCAR, which is the Canadian African Network for Community Research and Opportunities. I oversee our Black Youth Justice program. So our program, it's very new. It is a community-based program that is being designed to address recidivism and the representation of Black youth in the criminal justice system. So we just launched in July, and now we are preparing our report to share with our community who joined us, our community engagement report. And we'll be also starting youth services next month. So that's exciting. So that's why I'm here to, be a part of these discussions to elevate and again center the health and well-being of Black youth and their families. I'm excited that we're taking some time back as a community to have this conversation and paint a way forward. So thank you for having me, and I'll throw it back to Victor to select the next person.
No problem. We'll go to Collins, then Chope, then Diallo.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chope Ogrinde, and I'm based in Ottawa, Ontario. And my career is focused in the nonprofit governance and innovation spaces. And most recently, I was leading the innovation lab at CASE, which is the Canadian Association for Supported Employment. And I'm really excited to be here. I think that this is really important work that we all can collectively come together to do. So thank you so much, Victor, for inviting me.
Thank you, Chope. We appreciate you. Brother Collins, go ahead, fam.
Good afternoon once again, everyone. My name is Collins Boachiadam. I am one of the program managers here at Dream Legacy Foundation. We're a not-for-profit organization here in the GTA. We've been around since 2016, and we specialize in affordable housing, um, workforce development, and youth skilled trades, entrepreneurship, as well as research. So we have over 2 decades of being involved in the community, and we really thrive on serving underrepresented and Black community, and basically being a conduit between institutions and the community. So we kind of feed off these 4 pillars to now make sure that we get representation and we bring opportunities to the community. So excited to be here. I know I see a lot of familiar faces here. So, but appreciate the invitation and looking forward to today's discussion.
Thank you so much, Brother Collins. We'll move on to Brother Diallo, then Sister Aranke, and then Brother Kwamina.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Victor. I'm Diallo, and my background is in civil and structural engineering. I'm co-founder of Turnkey Developers. We're a Toronto-based firm that does various forms of residential development, handle a lot of architectural design, home renovations, additions, doing a lot of research in 3D construction printing, things like that. And I'm really looking forward to the discussions and grateful for being here.
Thank you so much for all that you do, my brother. Really proud of the leadership that you've shown in your space. We're going to hand it off to Sister Aranke. Go ahead, sis.
Thank you, Victor. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Aronke Emmanuel, and I am the Director of Strategy and Operations at Ashek Community Foundation for Black Canadians with Disabilities. And I am grateful to be here and looking forward to this discussion. Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you, Aranke. Appreciate you. And we've been playing phone tag all. Aranke is like the hardest working sister. We appreciate you, sis. We're going to pass it off to our brother Kwamina. Go ahead, from BDC.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kwamina Mensah. I'm here representing Black Data Collective. In regards to the statement, I'm feeling enthusiastic. I'm grateful to be here. I know it's a very important topic, and I'm definitely grateful to be a part of this conversation. Thank you so much, Victor.
We're going to hand it off last but not least to Ben and to Sister Dagma from Rest Sensors. I'm going to put a link in the chat, but right now there's nearly 40,000 youth who are homeless in Canada. That's a reality. I'm going to hand it off to Dagma to provide some greater context around this conversation. As I mentioned, we're here for a good time, not a long time. We're going to try and win in 45 minutes. This is the first of 3 roundtable discussions. The next one is more with BOF and FFBC and some other capital providers on the supply side of capital. And then the last one will be with some folks from philanthropy. But yeah, Dagmar, I'm going to hand it off to you and put some links in the chats as it relates to the Black Youth Housing Equity Summit, as well as Rest Centers in general. Go ahead, sis.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here. And thank you, Victor, for the introduction. My name is Dagma, and I founded the organization called Rest Center out in Peel. At Rest, we have an opportunity to come alongside youth at some of the most vulnerable times in their life. We see over 200 young people that come through our doors in Peel on an annual basis in need of basic need, I guess, of society, of humanity, which is housing. And we see housing from a human rights perspective. And I just want to say, just to be transparent here, that addressing housing has been very difficult. It's not an easy thing to address housing. And it's also not easy seeing young people coming through the doors. And they have a crisis. We do know that we have a crisis in Canada, which is the homeless crisis and the housing crisis. But the way that it hits our Black youth is different because of the fact that they face multiple levels of barriers for housing. So I want to say just recently, one of our staff mentioned to me that a young person that they were taking from the shelter to house, she had a panic attack. She's 16 and she has no place to stay and she has no family. And she has a brother who's 18. And so I spoke to my staff. I wanted to understand, was there an opportunity to put the siblings together? Because we've done that so many times. We've had multiple siblings who have come into our shelter, into our program that's homeless, and we were able to advocate and get them housing to stay together. And she said something to me. She said the brothers felt that he wanted to be independent because he had been responsible for the sister for a while. And I asked what happened to this particular group of siblings, and they mentioned that they lost their mom. The father is out of the picture. So I began to think about the 18-year-old and why he probably feel that he doesn't want to be responsible for his sister. and the 16-year-old who's having a panic attack because she's afraid of staying alone. So that's the reality of a lot of the young people we are seeing coming into our services on a daily basis. And the fact that Canada housing is so unaffordable, and we have a 16-year-old, in order for her to be housed, she has to face a bill of over $1,200 a month just for one room with a shared kitchen and a shared bedroom. You could understand the multiple challenges that these youth face. So how REST operates, we operate for a headless-in model where we partner with landlords in order to house these young people. Either we rent the house, most recently we were able to acquire funds to purchase our first property, where we put these young people in the property, and then we layer it with wraparound support services to help them so that they can continue to sustain the independent living. The need for the summit is really REST decided to take a more bolder action. Again, I mentioned that addressing housing is challenging. However, when you're showing up in a space and you're saying that, okay, we're seeing that there is an overrepresentation of Black youth in housing, and we're demanding those in power to be accountable in the way that they set budgets and the way that they set policies to ensure that these youth who are uniquely challenged, that their needs are being addressed. And we're always being pushed back on. We're asked, the questions that I'm asked, why Black youth? Why Black youth? And so the summit helps us to bring this overrepresentation, like to build a coalition and to bring together many voices, other organizations, mobilizing youth themselves to be able to voice what they're seeing, what they're experiencing, and demanding of our systems and our leaders the changes that we want to see to support our Black youth. Because when they're not housed, guess what? They fall in between the cracks. And we begin to see it for the prison pipeline, for the child welfare pipeline. When basic needs are not being met, we end up putting our youth in a graveyard. That's what I really say. We put them in a graveyard. And it's our ability to mobilize everybody that we could mobilize to say not why Black youth, but to say yes, Black youth, because they do matter. And so we're asking for your support. I think Ben can come on to share our joint statement, but we have crafted a joint statement, not just with us, but with our youth council. They came together, our youth council, and also some community experts, so that we could come together collaboratively to put a joint statement of what we're looking for in regards to these changes. And this 2-day summit, again, is us taking a bold action. In Peel Region right now, 50% of the Black youth, the 50% of the youth experiencing homelessness is from the Black community. We spoke to Eva's, 82% of the youth in the shelters are Black youth. In Toronto, I think it's 49% are Black youth. So when we see these problems, we know that it's systematic. And so that's why we're putting together this summit, to address it head on and to take a bolder action by building coalition and solidarity for us to see what we could do to address policy around ensuring that there's equitable support for Black youth who are navigating these systems and who are not being given enough attention. So Ben, is Ben on?
Before you go to Ben, Ben is definitely on. To add some more context to Dagma's piece around that data, one, there is limited data, but more importantly, I personally stayed at Eva's Place Youth Shelter as a young man. I personally stayed at Second Base Youth Shelter as a young man, met some of the closest people to me in those interactions. And just to be clear, those were gladiator schools. So you go in with an undergraduate degree in one type of nefarious activity and leave with a doctorate in another type of nefarious activity. So those are the realities. The reason why it's so important that we have this conversation is our beloved sister Phil San is leading some remarkable work around community bonds. Our beloved brother Curtis comes from a very similar place and lived experience as me, and this brother's building an infrastructure project that you would marvel at. Our beloved brother Diallo is a younger version of our brother Isaac Olawalafe, who me and Diallo just got off the phone with a few minutes ago, doing some development work across the country. Our brother Collins has been in the real estate development space and affordable housing space for 2 decades. Our brother Clemens is Alberta, and they're having similar issues, but there is no national framework around Black youth housing, even though issues are national in every province. Our sister Lisa Arneson and Aranke have been leading the largest, strongest, and only Black disability organization in the country that looks at intersectional approaches to navigating some of the most deplorable and systemic challenges for some of the most vulnerable constituents in our country. I'm not going to go on to touch on everyone. Sister Tasha is doing some of the most dynamic work I've seen in terms of exposing young people that sometimes have have had some great experiences and some not so great experience with a much larger world than just the borders of Victoria Park to Kingston Road to Port Union to Steeles. Some of these small niche territories that we feel that we own. So I really want to make sure that we all understand the context in which we're entering this conversation and see how we can all figure out a way to collaborate and collectively advance this work. And just to be clear, this is the first of many dialogues, deliberations around this point. Ben, I'm going to hand it off to you. And Dagma, thank you so much for what you're doing, all the sacrifices and commitment you're making on behalf of our young people. Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you, Victor, and thank you, Dagma, and also welcome everyone in here. So I will not take you to the link, but rather I will try to see if I have access, Victor, just to give a snapshot of the joint statement, where we are coming from, and then how it is framed, just to, heighten our agency to endorse it. So this joint, just by way of introducing myself before then, my name is Ben Bempa, and I'm the Operations Director for REST Centers. As Dagma highlighted, and REST is all about trying to collaborate with other agencies and also implement innovative strategies to end youth homelessness in the Peel region. And our focus is specifically on BIPOC and Black youth. And this summit comes into play because of the importance of the role that REST play in supporting the youth, and also the impact that our model is having in terms of ensuring housing stability for the youth that we serve. And we came to the need for this summit based on the fact that, yes, our efforts are yielding impact, but however, the youth themselves are also calling for policy changes and also strengthen equity in terms of funding to support the cause of sector agencies trying all efforts to address youth homelessness in the region and also beyond the boundaries to other regions. Dagmar alluded to the crisis that we are in. And this crisis is also exhibited in the numbers that we are seeing, especially our focus in the Peel region. That shows that 1 in 5 youth homelessness or youth that are homeless are people that are within the ages of 15 to 24. And this data is from the Peel region point in time count 2024. And also 50% of Black youth are homeless based on the data that they presented. That is more than half of the homeless youth in the Peel region being Black. And based on the engagement that we had in the drafting of the joint use statement, Eva representative did also point out the fact that 82% of the clients that they serve are also Black youth, and they are also focused on as a mainstay on addressing youth homelessness. Then there's also about the crisis increasing as a result of trend that we are seeing, and there has been 43% increase in Black youth homelessness or Blacks experiencing homelessness since the last count of the point in time count within the region that we operate. And this is the voice that is coming from the youth that we serve, coming out from the joint statement meet, that we are not just here to help, we are here to help shape the solution. So looking at these statistics, the youth were very much like lamenting that why is it that we are seeing overrepresentation of youth in numbers apart from housing, but in other areas of the social fabric that they should find themselves growing into. So they are saying that, yes, when they came together, they said, no, the actions that they tailor in here are not just for talk shop, but rather to finding solution. And this is the essence of the summit that we will also be going into, that as we try to endorse this joint statement, we should also take into mind that the summit is a call for solution when we meet there. So the vision that culminated into the whole joint statement was that housing justice should be rooted in Black liberation, and that the voices were so clear. I will not go through all of them, but the voices were so clear that we are not simply asking to be housed, we are demanding the right to thrive,
to heal, to belong, and to lead. Many a times they are counted as numbers. Many a times we see homelessness support coming in terms of just focusing on housing, the housing first approach, but the wrap-around services that seek to their long-term independence and sustainability is neglected. So they are saying that wrap-around support means not having to choose between food, shelter, mental health, and that it is exhausting to always be in survival mode, and they deserve to dream too. So these were the voice that were coming from the youth coming from this summit, of which we are also seeking your endorsements from this perspective. We were guided by a framework, not just by just talk shop, but we are guided by a framework that positions the voice of the youth within the 5P approach. And this emphasizes on the people, positioning, process, policy, and performance. Per the people approach, or centering people as the mainstay for this, was that leadership and insights of Black youth with lived experience of homelessness must actively shape every decision, design, and dollar investment. So every dime that is spent should revolve around what impact is it making to the people in question. And the people in question here is the Black youth that we are serving. And the positioning means that we are framing Black youth no longer to be framed as a broken or burdensome, but rather seeing them as resilient and contributors, as well as being resourceful and rooted in generational strength. And by the generational strength, they also alluded to the fact that there's the need to see that housing in itself is seen as a generational wealth that is also sustaining from generation to generation, but not just a one-time shop to address their problem. And they also frame this within the process, which is inclusive collaboration from the youth, and also involving elders as well as frontline workers and policymakers in the discourse that affect them. And hence you have representation here, and also endorsement of this joint statement is also seen as a key involvement of expertise, people of knowledge, people with the agency of the sense to achieve a lot when it comes to addressing this persistent issue. And per performance, they also talk about that the demand must be backed by irrefutable evidence. And that data is of essence. And I think what we've realized is that when it comes to data, and also disaggregating data from existing surveys to really focus on Black youth and also focus on Black in entirety is lacking. When even where it is available, access to such data is difficult for us. So data and performance measures need to be rooted around so the voices that we shape the contents of what we develop for policy implication as well as for funding. And that we are calling that data for Black youth should be an investment in terms of addressing housing. Then policy, they're saying that bold and transformative policy that really focuses on real change is required, not just on structural shift, but also funded in the very fabric and roots of the laws that govern housing for Black youth. So this framework will be guided the joint statement, and it will still shape the context of the policy brief that will also emanate from the summit as we go into the summit.
Thank you so much, Ben. I want you to pause there for 1 second because our good colleague Alex just joined us a few minutes ago, as well as our beloved sister Selena. Part of this work is obviously a national housing framework. Our sister Selena was not only a former member of parliament and led multiple initiatives on a federal level, but is currently the executive director of the Canadian CED network, specifically around community economic development. And when we think about generational wealth, when we think about ownership matters, when we think about community wealth building, CED is a really important lens. And our beloved colleague Alex, I've worked with him for years, is one of the most diligent colleagues and reliable, loyal colleagues I've worked with in a very long time, is part of a very serious housing action table led by our colleague Leslie Wu, the CEO of Civic Action. So I wanted to give Alex an opportunity to just jump in to provide us some actual insights on what that table is doing around housing innovation on a municipal level that could potentially support this national strategy. And then I also would like Selena just to weigh in as it relates to potentially opportunities to collaborate with potentially SEDNet on this national housing strategy because Rest Centers is the largest Black youth shelter in the history of Canada. So, Alex, please go ahead, my friend. And thank you, Ben, for that small segue.
Thank you.
Do you want me to share my screen at all?
Yeah.
I'm coming in 5 minutes ago, so just to preface it that even though I'm sharing potentially some slides, it's not necessarily prepared for this conversation. But just to share a little bit of background on the Civic Action Affordable Housing Collaborative. I'll share my screen here. It's currently the largest affordable housing collaborative, but focused on the GTH. And it's really has a few different focus areas, starting out in late 2023, early 2024, around three focus areas. One, an awareness educational campaign around affordability and the affordability crisis, and trying to have focus groups from a variety of different areas, whether or not we're talking about like nurses and infrastructure workers to people in healthcare, to CEOs and leaders in the housing system, trying to shape an understanding of how can we get the public as well as leaders in diverse sectors to understand more about the affordability crisis. And the second one related to the fact that housing affordability is infrastructure. It's not just housing, it's everything else. And the third one being around how do we change the capital stack around affordable housing? How do we think and innovate around, for example, how can different levels of government act as a guarantor to unlock different types of funding mechanisms to go into affordable housing, whether or not it be for-profit developers, nonprofit developers, or other focus areas. I went through this a little bit. Just to speak to who's around the table, there's the developers like CEO from Atomy, there's the Wood Greens, there's QHN, there's a Black Opportunity Fund, Ray Williams. So there's a good cross-sectoral approach to this. I wish it was even a bigger table. Here's a little bit about where we have been and where we are going. A lot of the work in 2024 was trying to do sense making to learn and from different focus groups. And now it's moved into the awareness campaign, and I'll share Mission Affordable here, just so that everybody has access to that. I'll see if I can find the chat. I can't. I'll send it afterwards.
Yeah, I can
in
find
chat.
I have the link. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. But then we're moving into more action and campaign-oriented things. Now, in the middle of the campaign, even though in the middle of the project in 2024, we understand obviously that this is a big spectrum. Like we're talking about everything, the spectrum from homelessness, the shelters, transitional housing, to your rental housing and ownership, trying to figure out where should the collaborative focus. It was decided to focus around the middle income workers, so your nurses, your infrastructure workers, and really to understand the affordability crisis for people that are around middle income workers, and why our infrastructure workers, like nurses, for example, are moving out of the city because they can't afford to live in the city. That is a choice. Fully agree that the collaborative can't hold everything, but I am also interested in how do we collaborate better with other collaborative so focus areas, for example, Social Innovation Canada and CMHC's affordable housing labs that ran 100 plus of affordable housing labs. How can the collaborative work with that at a data knowledge mobilization level? How do we work across sectors? For example, health and social and the affordable housing side. There's an obvious tie, but our systems don't talk to each other. So trying to unlock, that's a conversation I'm having with Wood Green, for example. How do we get better at working with each other across systems around data and knowledge mobilization? And leading into that, and the last thing that I'll mention is the conversation with Setsi and Victor around participatory governance hubs and how can we create mechanisms for public engagement in an ongoing sense-making way so that we know what is relevant for Black communities, for example, as it relates to affordable housing and the cross-sectional with health and social and affordable housing. So these are all things that are both rooted in the work at Civic Action, but also straddling a lot of other initiatives.
Super helpful. Thank you so much, Alex, for your leadership. I put the Mission Affordable link in the chat. I also put a link from our colleague Angie Niemton, who couldn't be here today, but she will be at the Housing Equity Summit, and she's doing some work around the Canadian Alliance for Transit-Connected Housing. If anyone lives in Little Jamaica or Eglinton West, you understand the disparities connected to this. So the reason why we bring up these models is if you look at the level of infrastructure that we can lean on potentially with other stakeholders and partners that can leverage their data and help elevate our data, specifically censoring Black youth and homelessness in Canada, the possibilities are endless. So I'll stop there. And once again, thank you, Alex, for sharing that IP. I know you don't have to, but I appreciate your allyship and your solidarity as always. I want to just make sure that we let our beloved sister Selena introduce herself quickly as a remarkable ally and thought leader and practitioner in so many sectors. Obviously, Selena, I'm not asking you to do a presentation because you're jumping into the conversation, but I do want to make sure that you and Sister Dagma from Rest Centers develop a really strong relationship because I see some remarkable opportunities.
Sorry, yeah, I don't mind jumping in, and so thank you. I'm Selena Caesar Chavan. I got a brief introduction from Victor as the executive director for the Canadian Community Economic Development Network and a former federal politician. And I think that there's something that I just want to add here that may or may not be connected, but I think it's important to note. Some of you may remember, or maybe not, that my tragic performance as running for the mayor of the city of Toronto in a couple of years ago. There's only 250 people in Toronto that I like because I only got 250 votes. And of course, Olivia Child beat me out by 1,000 times more votes. And I bring that up only because I think there's something important. When I ran specifically because I wanted to change the funding formula for housing and social assistance services in the city of Toronto. Of course, right now we know that so much of the programs are supported through property taxes. And my challenge or my proposal was around the fact that the federal government and provincial government downloaded these responsibilities of social assistance and housing to the municipalities without an adequate funding formula. And so my proposal was to utilize part of the GST, of course, that grows with the economy, um, to for and have it earmarked specifically for social assistance and social housing. And that was something that came up again in the federal election. If you looked at the debate with that was hosted by Steve Paikin, he brought that up. Would you use part of the GST for that? And I thought, Steve, like you literally just took that right out of my playbook. But I think it's important when we're thinking of some of these initiatives to think, and I don't know if it's come up on this call, and I don't want to assume that it hasn't been thought of, but there's ways in which we could be strategic around what happens with Black communities. I am very critical of the government's response to Black communities around some of the investments that they've given as compared to others. And so I think that there's an opportunity to leverage capacities, as Victor said earlier, around data, but also around our collective power as individuals and organizations. The power has always belonged to the people, in my opinion, and sometimes we forget how powerful we are in order to make real significant change happen and to think sort of outside of the box in terms of how we ask and what we ask for specifically. So I'll just leave it there for now and continue to engage in this conversation. SEDNet's three pillars are around building, strengthening, strengthening community economies through convening, through policy and advocacy, and through learning and capacity building. So being a legitimate partner, a bona fide partner in some of these initiatives that help to do those things, we're here for that.
Thank you so much for your remarkable leadership as always, Selena. I want to make sure, I know that we have a few minutes left. I want to make sure that we can close with some next steps and actionable insights with Sister Dagma and Brother Ben. I'll hand it back off to you.
Thank you so much. But Ben is right. Our youth are not just a statistic, and they are tired of being treated as a number. We are Black-led unapologetically. We take a bold stand for Black youth. We do believe that they need to be served with dignity. I also want us to understand that our population, we do not usually see them in the chronic homelessness number, even in Peel. So most of the homelessness that happens for Black people is hidden, either crashing at their friend's house, easy for them to ask for help. And so we're calling on community to join us in empowering these youth and their voices at this youth housing summit that we're hosting on November 20th to the 21st. You could go to the website. It's still, part of it's still in development for more information, but we encourage you to stand in support of the work we're doing, not just for the youth that we serve, but for youth across Canada who are finding themselves navigating a homeless system that is not created with them in mind, with multiple layers of barriers, which includes discrimination. I really appreciate your support. And Victor, thank you so much for bringing us together today. Thank you. The website is in the chat. Thank you.
Incredible. Thank you so much. And as I mentioned before, this is the first of three of these roundtables. We have a conversation with folks in government, philanthropic foundations, and some more actors on the supply side of capital. If you'd like to be part of those dialogues and deliberation, please let us know. And as always at SETC, we close this conversation the way we began this conversation, but a little bit different. We're going to give thanks to the tireless efforts of Sister Dagma and Brother Ben and Eli and their entire staffing team. They had our SETC team come in and do virtual capacity strengthening kind of knowledge mobilization session with their young people as well as young people from Eva's Place and a few others. And it was probably the most remarkable session we've done in a long time to hear directly from young people that are living in this circumstance, what kind of needs they require and supports and just that piece around dignity. So once again, Dagma and Ben, we appreciate you for the frontline work that you're doing and the higher level policy advocacy you're doing. And we'll close by giving thanks to our creator, to our sustainer, to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our ancestors whose bones lie at the bottom of the transatlantic, who said freedom or death. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. The links are in the chat. You'll all receive an email from us in terms of next steps, actual insights that are all leading up to the Black Youth Housing Equity Summit coming up in a few weeks. And once again, we appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Peace and blessings.